All right, I'm here alongside Donnie Gilbert. Donnie, good morning.
Good morning. Happy Friday, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
So, the last weekday of the month. We still have tomorrow, which there will be a lot of shipping going out tomorrow for these companies that are open, 24/7, 365. But the majority of them are going to try to get their freight picked up today. So here, looking at the outbound tender volume index for dry van and the outbound tender rejection rate for reefer, we show here picking up a little bit. Dry van volumes picking up here a little bit towards the end of the month, but we still have this long downward trend going on for outbound tender rejection rates. But they're only down to 21.99%, so it's not like they're very low.
Paltry, 21%.
Yeah. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that as well, this long downward trend is, we've had contracted rates really picking up over the last few months. And here, the highest we've seen is here over the last few weeks here in July. So that's one thing kind of also affecting besides just spot market rates. So that's kind of helped bringing rejection rates down. As this is July, a lot of carriers are going back and they're falling back into their compliance as they start running these new contracts. And they'll run them for a few weeks. The lane engineers will check in, make sure everything's going smooth. Are those the lanes they want? Maybe not. A couple weeks they might, start backing out of different lanes that didn't work out as expected. But currently, that's kind of the trend that's going on right now. But spot markets still have a lot of volatility in them. It was the end of the month. And even at 22%, carriers are able to, they're really in control of the spot market still. They have a lot of the rate negotiation leverage. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so this downward trend that we see continuing, at least so far, on OTRI, on VOTRI as well, you see it as more a function of carrier compliance coming up, spot or contract rates being bid up towards spot rates, not rather so much capacity being added to the market or any looser environment.
Correct. And so, yeah, capacity adding to the market is going to be very tough right now. It's hard to find the drivers. And right now we see, a big upswing in the actual contract values that are being renewed. So looking here, checking on reefer on our next chart here. We see reefer here. Again, we see freight volumes going up here for the end of the month for reefer. And again, this downtrend here still going on with reefer outbound tender rejection rates. But again, reefer still at 32%. And we look at this and it looks big, especially even with dry van, but still they're in between 32 and 33% going through here. And I kind of zoomed in a little bit and it looks a little bit worse than what it is. So they're just barely kind of fluctuating. I really would call this just holding steady in here. And again, at 32%, you still, reefer's a lot more of a niche market, but these guys are able to go in there and almost name their price for some of these lanes that they want to run on the spot market because capacity is still very tight. Even though we do see some downward trends, it's nothing to be worried about.
Right. We are, again, zoomed in here on the last month. If we were to zoom out a little bit to the 3-month or the 6-month, you'd see that this is actually welcome news for any reefer shipper after being at 50-40% for the last couple months.
Yes. Going into our next chart, saying, who's in control? And this is the DHL Power Pricing Index. I haven't shown this in quite a while because, as you can see, it's been kind of the same over the past several months, and we're at a 70. Now, explaining how this works is we've done a scale 0 to 100. And 50 is the middle, it's kind of the baseline, it's the coin flip. A number below 50 would say, between 50 going down to 0 would say a carrier or a shipper is in control of the negotiating powers in the market right now. Right. When we start getting above 50 up to 100 being the highest, is showing that carriers are pretty well in control when it comes to spot rates and negotiations. And we've been around that 70, 75, 80, right around in there for some time. And this is basically telling us and showing us that carriers are in control of this market. It is a carrier's market right now. When we get out to negotiations, shippers are going to have to come up more than carriers are going to have to come down, and they're going to be paying a lot higher prices. And it is, in the power of the carriers.
Yeah, this has been this way for about a year now, right? Just fluctuating between 65 and 80. Carriers have been in a really good position with spot rates elevated, contract rates coming up. You got rejection rates above 20% since September of last year. You spoke to some spot market volatility, though. Can you speak to that just for a moment?
Sure. So as we get, as capacity tightens up, as we get towards this end of the month, in this carriers market, as it all comes together in one big bang as we get in this last week of July, you have those carriers that know that the end of the month is coming up, and they start just pushing those rates up just a little bit more, and it starts adding volatility for that last week of the month. month, and this happens every end of the month, and they really start pushing those rates up and down, and they get, here, the differences between different carriers and different rates and small guys and big guys gets really expanded, and sometimes flat out crazy and unpredictable, and you might just get kind of caught there paying a high rate. A much higher rate sometimes if that's the last guy available. So we see that ups and down, the different, the imbalances in between all those rates, and it's because we're getting into the last month. And you're really going to see those today. There's going to be really a lot of people saying, it's Friday, it's 3 p.m. on Friday, and you're just now calling me to pick up by tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah, I'll get it. And he's going to add an extra $500 to that rate.
Right. All right, Mr. Donnie Gilbert, great first carrier update. We'll check in with you here in a moment. Let's toss it over to Kaylee for our top story with John Gallagher.